I'm Jason Aaron, and this is my secret origin at ComicsOnline.
Jason, thrilled to be spending some time with you at C2E2. Thank you for round two. So let's start off with the fact that we're doing Secret Origins for ComicsOnline's 25th anniversary. Would love to hear your origin story of how you got started in the world of comics.
Yeah, I'll give you two answers to that. The first part, when I was a kid, fell in love with comics growing up in the backwoods of Jasper, Alabama. Books I plucked off the drugstore spinner rack. One of those first books, they were mostly DC books in like early mid 80s. Bunch of Superman comics. DC Comics Presents was big. I've got the issue of DC Comics Presents. I think it's the one where he teams up with Sergeant Rock, where I clipped the ad out of the back to send in probably $2 for a chunk of kryptonite. It's just a rock spray painted green that glows in the dark if you hold it up to the light bulb, which I've still got sitting in a glass case next to my desk. But that yard, the backyard of that house that I was playing with He-Man toys and Star Wars figures, falling in love with comics, that's literally the yard that's the setting for Bug Wars, my new Image series. So some of it was that point in my life when I was like 10 years old. Began a lifelong love affair with comics. In terms of being a comic creator, my origin story happened here in Chicago at Wizard World Chicago in summer of 2001 when Marvel did this strange one-time talent search contest. And I showed up here with a one-page synopsis of a Wolverine story, dropped it on a giant pile of them at their booth, and months later got a phone call that I had won. So that was my first published work, and Wolverine 175, and the beginning of me being here sitting on the other side of the table.
Well, now you're getting to play with all these amazing characters. Obviously, you have your creator-owned Bug Wars, which has been a fantastic read, but also getting to play with Absolute Superman and Ninja Turtles. It's got to feel great.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of never gets old. Like, this is literally what I've wanted to do since I was that kid playing in the backyard. I look at that as kind of the beginning of me falling in love with storytelling, like running around the woods, making up Tarzan stories in my mind, playing with my Star Wars toys and He-Man toys. It's literally, writing comics is literally what I've wanted to do my entire life. It took me until I was, in my 20s, late 20s, before I won that talent search contest, before I was able to kind of wedge my foot in the door a little bit. But since then, there's never a day that's gone by where it's gotten old, where I take it for granted. I mean, it's still like writing for me is such a kind of selfish, personal experience. It's just, I sit in a room by myself, write a story solely for my own amusement, like something that I want to see exist. And then I'm lucky that I get to send that off through the ether to literally some of the most amazing artists on the planet today, and they draw it and bring it to life, and I can go to my local comic book shop a few months later and there it is, it exists. That never gets old, and then they actually pay me money to do that, and I can pay my light bill and send my kids to college, and every day I get to wake up and go down into my basement wearing pajamas and sit there and just make up stories for a living. Like, I happy to do that until I literally keel over. Hopefully I keel over dead, like in the middle of writing a story.
We hope that's a long ways off.
I finished my run on Superman by that point.
You beat me to it. I was just going to say that and Ninja Turtles. You mentioned the talented artists that you get to work with. Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm using the full title. You got the rare opportunity to have a rotating set of artists for the first few issues. What was that experience like of getting to sort of shape where the Turtles were going to go for their 40th anniversary?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just worked out perfectly for that sort of setup. I mean, normally it's not a great thing when you say we're launching a new book and the first 6 issues have 6 different artists, right? That sounds like that's probably a problem, but in this case, the plan all along was I wanted to do a typical kind of story where we break up the band and then we get them back together. So I knew I wanted to do 4 issues where each one focused on one of the brothers, and they've gone their separate ways. They've kind of gone to different parts of the planet, got involved in different circumstances. None of them are in particularly great spots when we pick them up, and then we see how their old enemies, the Foot Clan, show up again, and that sort of brings them back together. And then issue 5 focuses on the new villain, and then issue 6 is when we finally get all the turtles back together in New York City. That first arc is called Return to New York. We don't even get to New York City until issue 6, but it's more just about a return to their roots, return to who they were in the past. And then, we got to line up like a murderer's row of different artists who we couldn't necessarily get to sign up for 6 issues, 12 issues, or whatever, but we could get Joel Jones for 1 issue, and Cliff Chang, and Chris Burnham, and Raphael Albuquerque, and Derek Robertson did 5, and then Juan Ferreira came on with 6, and he's been the main artist since then. But so I think it was Jamie Rich's idea, was the editor at the time, to sort of use different artists, but it made sense story-wise. And then the fact that they were able to grab such huge names. I mean, Cliff Chang's somebody I've known literally for 20 years, about as long as I've been in comics. Cliff and I have talked about we should work together someday. We never would have imagined it would have been on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but he drew an absolutely staggeringly beautiful issue of Turtles.
Well, Ninja Turtles was the first comic that I purchased with my own money. As a kid, it was the one that stood out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures number 35. And it's been a long time since I've really gotten back into the Turtles adventures. And you did such a welcome reintroduction to these characters. The jumping on point worked so well, but that Leonardo issue, I really do feel like is worthy of an Eisner, and I really hope you guys get that opportunity.
Well, yeah, cheers. I appreciate that. I mean, so much of that is because of Cliff, who drew and colored it, himself, and it's a really gorgeous. But I mean, it's one of, again, a lot of gorgeous issues over the course of that run. I've been really lucky over the course of my career. Artists I've gotten to work with, which is, I feel like nothing special I'm doing. A lot of it is just editors putting you in a good position and hooking you up with good people. But yeah, Turtles feels extra special in that regard, and it's so many awesome people, all of which I'd never worked with before. Like Raphael Albuquerque and I had done a short Old Guard story for an anthology a few years ago. But other than that, I'd never worked with any of those artists before.
Well, I want to end with talking about Absolute Superman. The Absolute books continue to sell out and go back to reprint, which I think is truly amazing. We don't get to see this volume of reprints, and the demand is there. What do you think it is about the Absolute books in particular that are really bringing people into the DC universe?
I think people are just responding to us taking kind of fresh swings with these characters. People already love all these characters, right? People love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, all the characters we use in the Absolute universe. But I think people are kind of hungry for, give me the character I know. The heart of them is not different, but everything around them is radically different and feels very fresh and maybe more relevant and grounded in the world of today. So I think people are hungry for those kind of stories in general. It's a perfect time for us to launch the Absolute universe. And then just the books, I think, are really good. As a fan, getting to see what Scott and Nick have been doing on Batman and what Kelly and Hayden have done on Wonder Woman. To me, it gets me excited and makes me feel like, I can't be the one who drops the ball. Superman better be good. And I was so excited about the chance to do. I mean, when I first came to DC, I knew I wanted to write Superman. Superman's been kind of a goal for me since I was that 10-year-old kid playing in the backyard, right? I've wanted to write Superman, but getting the chance to do your own version of Superman, to rewrite Superman's history, tell a story that takes everything we know about that character, what I feel like is without a doubt the greatest mythology of any comic book character in existence, right? Is Superman's backstory, Superman's mythology. To get to take that and shake it up and tell a story that is, in some way, is the heart of it is the same. You know, Krypton explodes in issue 5, like you knew that was coming. But still, along the way, there were so many moments where I felt like we were able to surprise readers, you know, to break your heart in ways that maybe you weren't expecting. That kind of opportunity doesn't come along hardly at all, you know, like, and all the time I've been in comics, there's been no initiative at DC quite like Absolute, right? Who knows when there'll be another one down the line. So it felt like perfect timing for me. At a point in my career where I was very much like, I don't want to do any more ongoing books. After 15 years of doing, you know, 3 at a time for Marvel, I'm kind of burned out on that. I want to take a break. Let me do some miniseries. And then pretty quickly I was like, well, crap, I can't say no to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and definitely can't say no to Absolute Superman. And now I'm like, I'll be on Absolute Superman for the foreseeable future. I think I did 101 issues of Thor, so we'll see if I can beat that on Superman.
I would love for you to beat that record, but more importantly, I think there's been a renaissance with comics in the last few years, and all of your work has absolutely contributed to that. So thank you for saying yes to all of these characters in these books.
Well, cheers. I appreciate that. I mean, as a freelancer, you do have to learn it's okay to say no sometimes and not overburden yourself and put yourself in a position to succeed. I've been super happy these last couple of years since I got out from under my exclusive with Marvel and was able to like basically fling the doors open and say anybody wants to hire me for any job, like give me a call. And from that, I wrote Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Berserker for Boom and Uncle Scrooge for Marvel, and I wrote EC Comics for Oni and did some more Conan, and there's a couple more new surprising things you'll see from me this year. I'm checking a couple more boxes. You know, I just wrote Thor versus Godzilla for Marvel, which is huge for me. So I'm literally just like a kid in a candy store, just so happy with the things I'm getting to do.